In this video, we're going to discuss the Motorola APX6000 radio operation. The APX6000 is our new radio that we're going to be utilizing as portables here at the Yuma Fire Department. In this video, we're going to discuss the general overview, the different controls, battery operation, installation and removal, the remote microphone, and the proper use of leather radio harnesses that will be issued to company officers. On initial inspection, you'll notice that the on and off switch and the rotary dial are much larger than the previous version of this radio. These oversized knobs allow for easier operation when wearing thick structured gloves. The on and off switch is located in the same position and also controls the volume as previous. The rotary dial allows us to select which talk group we need to operate on, channel 5, 7, so forth and so on. One difference is the location of the A, B, and C bank.
Fire dispatch.
You notice that anytime we make a change to one of these, the screen begins to light up to allow us to see what channel, talk group, or bank we're operating on. A bank is fire department specific. Those are our channels. Those are talk group 5, 7, 3, etc. The B bank is agency type specific. These represent all of our mutual aid channels.
Fire dispatch.
Fire mutual aid channels, if you were to select radio from San Luis or Somerton, the B bank would also be fire mutual aid channels. The C bank is YRCS specific.
Fire dispatch.
Those channels allow us to talk to anybody operating on YRCS. If you notice on the screen flashes back and forth to show you both which bank you're on and which talk group. So we're on dispatch on the YRCS. If we were to select back to A,
fire dispatch,
it would show us YFD now as the zone and dispatch as the talk group. As we change our dial,
Fire 3.
it continues to show us which zone we're on and which talk group we're utilizing. In this case, YFD, A bank, and Fire 3 would be the talk group. Keep in mind, there are other talk groups aside from just YFD, Fire Mutual Aid, and YRCS, but we'll get into those in a little bit later. You'll also notice the large orange button on this radio. This radio's emergency button is much larger for easier use when wearing structure gloves or thick work gloves. One of the nice features that this radio has that's different than the previous radio is all of these buttons require deliberate activation. So if I was to grab this button right now and just press it, nothing happens, even though I get the tactile click indicating that I did touch the button. For me to activate this button, it requires 1 full second of you holding the button down before the radio will go into emergency mode. That feature is true for all of the buttons on the radio. This helps eliminate accidental depressing of different buttons. In addition, you'll see that the radio comes with a protective lip here that helps also keep from bumping the radio and activating the emergency. In previous versions of the radio, guys had resorted to maybe using the antenna as an option for pressing the button because of how small the emergency button was. That is no longer an option with this new antenna. One, it damages the antenna, but two, even with a fire glove, you should be able to activate that larger button. One thing you'll notice is this new radio now has a fully integrated color screen on the front of the radio. The radio has a series of buttons no different than the previous version of our portables. The soft keys here are programmable and based on whatever the screen tells you, operate those different functions. Might be a little difficult to see from there, but the first button here would be zone. So if I needed to select a zone outside of A, B, or C, I could press the zone button for 1 second and it gives me a list of all of the different zones. Then utilizing my arrows, I can now change and select whatever zone I need to use. Again, if I was just to quickly bump that button, nothing occurs. And so the same thing for the selector button. All of these buttons require deliberate operation. I must click it and hold it for a second before the radio will accept the key input. So as you can currently see on this radio, I am on YFD bank or YFD zone A, and I'm on Fire 3. Once I change my rotary back to dispatch,
Fire dispatch.
I get the vocal and I get the screen showing me that I'm on that channel. Underneath here, you can see the radio identifier. This particular one, SUPHH spare 2, is probably a supervisor or spare radio for fire admin. That is where we'll find engine 3, firefighter, or engineer, etc. Any one of these buttons, if selected and just pressed quickly, doesn't do anything. To select the button, I must click it, hold it. There's my battery info. To exit this screen, same thing. This particular radio is programmed with the scan feature on the third button. If I click it and hold it, it gives me my scan talk groups. I can edit and select which channels I want this particular radio to scan based on my selections. To exit, I press the home key. I get the double beep for the home key depression. That's the front of the radio. On the back side of the radio, you'll notice just the regular speaker covers, as in previous versions. However, one of the major differences between this radio and the other ones, the previous version, is the dual microphones. This radio has microphones on both sides. This allows for whichever microphone is picking up your voice to get clean, crisp sound, while the other microphone actually takes in ambient sound and provides noise canceling. This radio is supposed to do a much better job of being able to transmit clear information in high, loud, noisy environments. And it represents another one of the new features from Motorola. The backside is pretty plain, pretty simple. It does provide some water resistance for a specific period of time. However, like anything else, we want to try to avoid water being splashed or these being submerged. On our side of our radio, we see the normal controls just like the previous version. Our push-to-talk button is located in the same spot. In addition, we have our purple purple button and our two other buttons here. Now, the purple button gives us a vocal call out of whatever talk group and channel we're on. So if I press the purple soft button,
Fire dispatch.
the radio repeats the talk group and the zone that we're operating on. This is a handy feature if we're in smoke-filled conditions or anywhere where we have no visibility. Also allows us to get a volume check on the radio without having to change talk groups. Just by pressing the purple button, the radio tells us what talk group and what channel we're on. The second button located down here, or the first button below the push to talk button, gives us information about what repeater we're hitting. After pressing that button, you can see I'm hitting Black Hail repeater, and it flashes it on the screen momentarily. If I hold the button, it tells me it's going to scan. It looks for the closest and best repeater, and then attaches itself to that repeater. So in areas where we have poor signal, the radio can be forced to look for an additional repeater. Most often our operations run off of the Black Hill repeater. Lastly, the button here is a button lock. This button, by depressing this button and holding it for 1 second, or not, by depressing this button, there we go. By pressing the button, this locks out the controls. You notice that when I press the button, the screen no longer lights up, and I get keypad control lock on the screen where the radio identifier is. By a quick press, it releases the buttons and unlocks them. So this one is a quick press to get control keypad lock. When the keypad is locked, all of these buttons are now out of operation. Press it again quickly, and it releases it, and I can now go back to normal operations of the radio. we're going to discuss how to use the batteries. Each one of these radios comes with two versions of the battery. The standard life battery, which is what you've seen so far, and an extended life battery, which is slightly different and longer. The standard battery will be issued to company officers because this battery system fits best in the leather radio harnesses that will also be issued to company officers. Firefighters, engineers, and everybody else will be issued their radios with this extended life battery. To remove the battery, there are two buttons on either side of the radio. Both buttons must be depressed at the same time and the battery slides right out. To insert the new battery, same operation in reverse. Slide the battery in place. You can see now with the extended battery how much longer the radio actually is. This extended life battery really makes the radio quite a bit taller. However, in this format, the radio actually lines up with the radio pocket on the new bunker gear really well. And so this is another reason why the extended batteries will go to engineers and firefighters, as in this configuration, it lines up, the speaker lines up with the radio pocket on the new bunker gear. So this setup will be for firefighters and engineers. The standard battery will be used for company officers. Once you have your battery in place, we can also place the belt clip on the radio. This belt clip goes on the radio on either battery setup. You'll notice that when the battery doesn't have this additional piece on it, there is no radio clip on it. To place the radio clip on, this section here goes over the buttons. And so the way to remember it is the battery clip protects the screen. So this radio, when in this harness, actually covers up the main screen. And so to put this on, we merely slide the radio cover over the top of the radio until we hear the snap. And now the radio has its case on it with battery, with belt clip on. You'll notice that all of our buttons are still fully operational and the accessory port is still open. To remove the battery clip, the belt clip, we're going to pull right here on this tab, and once we release that tab, the entire piece slides right down. Again, that belt clip can be used with either version of the battery, and the screen is protected by the belt clip. This is how most of the batteries or radios will be in service, with the belt clip in place. Again, if you're a firefighter or an engineer and you're going to put this in your bunker gear, it would probably be best to remove this and place this in your bunker coat with your extended battery already in place. However, if you would prefer to carry your radio on your belt clip, then that is obviously at your discretion. You can place your case on it and carry it in whatever configuration you like. All right, we're going to discuss utilizing the lapel mic with the radio operation. As we discussed earlier, the new radio has a different accessory port cover. The new cover has an actual thumb screw, which allows us to better protect the accessory port. So to remove it, we have to unscrew that, and then this piece slides up, unclips off the lip, and now exposes the accessory port. To place the lapel mic in service, we're going to start from the top, slide the lapel mic in place, and then screw in the thumb screw to secure the lapel mic. As you notice, the lapel mic's red light flashed to indicate that it's now receiving power. The lapel mic is a slightly different shade of green than the radio. Both of them are high visibility, easy to find. The lapel mic has a couple of updated features different than the previous version. Okay? First and foremost, when the lapel mic is in place, the volume control switches from the dial on the radio here to this toggle switch. So as we go up, you will hear increasing beeps to indicate the overall volume of the lapel mic. In addition, the lapel mic has the push to talk button as previous models did, and has the same single square key as the side of the radio. This button will tell you which repeater you're hitting, as evident on the top of the screen here. By pressing it and holding it, it'll make it scan for repeaters. By pressing it once, it'll tell you which repeater you're on. So it's the same operation as the single square key there. In addition, the lapel mic has a radio clip, a belt clip, excuse me, or pocket clip that rotates 360 degrees and has a carabiner connection for an extendable style connector if you wanted to utilize one of those. This feature also locks in place out of the way when not being used. The emergency button has a protective ring around it to helpful keep accidental deployment, and just like the buttons on the radio, a quick press does not activate the emergency. So if the radio is bumped and the button is pressed quickly, nothing happens. It must be a deliberate act, holding the button down for at least 1 second to get activation to occur. Very, very important that you remember both of these buttons require at least a 1 second hold to activate the emergency, at which point you'll get the alarm. To turn the alarms off, if you deploy emergency, you must wait for the alarm to finish, then hold the key down for a few seconds for the system to reset. Turning off the radio will not reset the emergency button. When you deploy the emergency button, the radio will automatically change channels and put it on the emergency talk group. This allows you to have direct communication with the alarm room outside of any other radio traffic. You now get a dedicated channel for your radio and the alarm room to discuss or share information or provide a report in the event of a mayday. The lapel mic also has two microphones on the front of the mic, on the front of the lapel. These two microphones operate the same way as the two microphones on the radio do. One of them will pick up your voice, the other one will pick up ambient noise and provide noise canceling. Again, this allows for great operation in noisy environments. This is a huge upgrade that Motorola made to their radios. The push-to-talk button is the same. Deploying it gets the same 3 beeps. That allows you to know that you're ready to talk. And this has an upgraded feature here. By pressing and holding this small black button on the front for a few seconds, we actually get a light. This light is a flashlight that can be used, help see at night, or look down at your clipboard or laptop keyboard. To turn the light off, we hold it down for a few seconds and the light turns off. Alright, this is the standard desk charger that will be issued to every station. In addition, ambulances will more than likely end up with a charger like this in the back of the ambulance. Either set of batteries, the extended battery or the short battery, can be charged using this charger. The wall plug-in will connect to the side of the charger, and you'll note 2 USB adapter connections. In addition, underneath the charger, there's an area to wrap up the cord and take up any excess cord not being utilized. There is a small switch on the bottom of the charger for reconditioning of the battery. This button allows this charger to either charge the battery directly or recondition the battery as needed. You'll see a small legend on the side of the charger that indicates the different lights that you'll note. Okay, I want to discuss using the radio harness. As we mentioned earlier in the video, every company officer will be issued a radio harness. It's also been speculated that each ambulance will receive 1 lapel mic and 1 radio harness in the future. The initial radio harness will be company officers only. And so we want to cover how to utilize the radio harness and setting up your radio harness. Now, the radio pouch only goes on in one direction. And so the cutouts on the side of the radio pouch indicate where the buttons go. And so in this particular radio pouch, the screen will go exposed to the outside. The leather strap here should sit just under this black piece, and we're going to go ahead and secure that strap in place. Now, to protect the radio from falling out, we have this strap here, which then goes over our selector dial and then snaps in place to keep it from falling out. If you need to tighten that, we can pull and untie this knot here, pull a little bit more tension, and move our knot lower down to increase the tension on that strap there. Once we have that in place, we're going to run our lapel mic through our radio belt. You'll notice that the belt already comes with two connectors. The top one goes for this clip here and allows us to secure the lapel mic onto the actual belt. One of the nice changes is the connecting accessory port is much smaller than on the previous version and passes through this much easier. Now, once we've ran it through there, we can go ahead and make our connection onto the side of our radio. Now this system is designed so that you can remove the radio from the radio harness with the lapel mic in place. By unsnapping here, you can feed this through and make the connection. It is easier to connect this first and then run the lapel mic over it. As you can see, it has to pass through a relatively small area. Once the lapel mic's in place, we're going to go ahead and secure our quick straps to the back of our radio harness here. These do swivel and the connection can be made in any direction. The same is true for the other side. The last two pieces that we do receive is an anti-sway bar, and this keeps the entire system from slipping and falling once it's in place on your body. This particular sway bar will connect to a belt loop and keep the device from the entire thing from swinging forward when you bend over to pick something up or deal with a patient. And then, in addition, you're supplied with one extra radio strap holder that controls the remaining portion of the lapel mic and keeps it from, falling and being pulled around. And so this can be placed anywhere on the radio harness system and be utilized to help secure some of the cordage. And so that can be placed in any position on the lapel, forward or backwards. The radio harness can be put on either side, so you can put it on the left or the right side. The sway bar located here is positioned generally on the back clip here and then placed on a belt loop in the back. This keeps the radio harness from sliding forward if the user bends over to treat a patient or do any type of activities. The belt portion of the harness can be adjusted for height of the radio here, and so obviously the higher the radio comes up, the lower in the connection, the lower the radio hangs. The lapel mic sits up at the shoulder, and in this position the user can squeeze the microphone and speak without having to tilt the lapel mic, and the lapel mic will be able to pick up any sounds that he makes. Lastly, we're going to cover operation of the radio harness with firefighting equipment. And so you notice the firefighter's wearing the radio harness underneath his bunker coat. The radio harness should be placed on and then the bunker coat placed over the top of it. As we secure the bunker coat, and we would secure it, strap it in place, doff his normal PPE, the radio harness would be disconnected, the lapel mic would be disconnected, pulled through, and as the storm flap is closed, the radio harness can be secured either on the front pocket, on the front harness connection there for operation, or can be moved to the pocket or the side connector here. Either one works. Remember, keep in mind that this connector rotates 360 degrees and can be placed in any position. And so the mic can come over the top of the storm flap as well and secured down like this. And so we want to make sure that the radio harness, because the leather can absorb heat, we want to make sure that the leather is placed underneath the bunker coat and the lapel mic is just pulled through over the top of the coat. We want to make sure that all of our storm flaps stay closed and secured, and that the harness, the radio mic comes through underneath the coat without affecting the normal operations of the Velcro straps. And so in this setup seems to be the best configuration. From this position, the company officer can squeeze the mic and speak, and the two microphones will still be able to adequately pick up all the information or anything that's being said or relayed.